here to celebrate, honor our good friend, our hiking companion, our climbing companion, for the many years that we knew him and enjoyed his company. I enjoyed getting to know Lou, not as long as most of you have known him, but through the friendship of hiking. And then that led to some of the couples in Men of Steel getting together, and some of us went to the National Geographic events in Portland and had dinner. Then we also floated the Rogue River, some of the couples, and Louise was there on those events as well. So not only does Men of Steel kind of lead to our bonding as guys, but it kind of extended beyond that. And I've gotten to know, as Lou did, and a lot of the partners and couples in the group, which has been special. Well, there's some people I'd like to maybe introduce. You may not know Rob Holt over here. And Rob, some of you were saying, who are you? But Rob was one of Lou's technical hiking companions for years, and so asked if he could be here, and certainly it's good to have him here. Also, before we get started, we need to thank Jim Nolke for once again having us all over here. So when I think of Lou, I think of a guy who I enjoyed sharing many moments. I can think of his, kind of how he tilted his head and smiled, with it kind of raised his lips up. I can just see him right now smiling when he'd tell a story. But his mantra was not rainmaker, but he was the guy who kept the rain away. And I remember one Forest Park hike, it was pouring. And we all had our raincoats on, the hoods on. Some guys, I think, Erwin, you brought an umbrella. Kidding. And 3 minutes later, I kid you not, the rain stopped. And there's something about it. So and today the hike, it's been pouring. You hiked in dry weather, right? No rain. Yep. So there was something to that.
Watching over you.
There you go. But there's several today who really want to have been friends for a long time in many ways.
I first met Lou at the Mazamas, which started us on almost 50 years of various adventures, mountain climbing, biking, and hiking with the Men of Steel. We also spent time with our families, so many great fun times together. Then Louise and Sue came along, and we enjoyed some great trips together with lots of laughter and, of course, sometimes open fun. And Lou, who was always such a good sport about the teasing. I won't miss my best buddy. He was a great friend.
The first story is we did Cycle Oregon, and there were, 6 or 8 of us guys, and Lou was one of them. And there was another fellow along, and his name was Alan Beard, and he looked exactly like Bill Clinton. And so, and on the bike trip, they had a newsletter. They called it the Cycle Oregonian. And people would write little things and put them in. And one day, Lou wrote an article and submitted it, and it got published. And it said, "Dear Bill Clinton lookalike, I have been admiring your legs, especially going up the hills, and also other parts of your body have interested me. Let us meet tonight at the beer garden." And of course we all saw it, and we're saying, "Oh." And Alan says, "I'll bet you Lou wrote that." And Lou said, I did not write it. I am anxious. So we all went to the beer garden. And every woman that walked in, we went, "Oh man, I hope that's her." And then others said, I hope that's not her." So every woman that came in, we had a yes or a no. And eventually he discovered Lou wrote the article, and there was no woman that was admiring his legs. So So that's one story. And then the second story, when I think of Lou, is when he was a teenager. When he was a teenager, they didn't serve alcohol in the state he lived in, which was, I think, Missouri, Arkansas. And he went over the state line, and they bought about 4 6-packs of beer. And then they started driving back to Arkansas, and they got pulled over by the police. And they had to go in, and they went into a gas station, and they thought they were going to get in trouble. And so everybody, what they did is they stuck one of the 6-packs underneath the car, and then the other 6-pack, but they didn't realize that the car was moving. And and the policeman in back of them just picked up 6-pack after 6-pack and put it in the squad car. And then he came over and he says, hey, are you guys drinking? They said, oh no. Did you come over to this town to buy beer? Oh no. He says, okay, you can go. And the policeman had all their beer in his squad car. That was one of the stories. And then the third one, we were hiking, and I said, Lou, have you ever had a crummy job? He says, oh, yeah. He says, I think I was in high school or just finishing high school, and his dad got him a job at a shoe factory. And this shoe factory sold tap dancing shoes. And Lou had to get that little tap, that little silver metal thing, and pound one near the toe and another one by the heel. And then the next shoe came, and he did this all day. And Lou says that was his worst job ever.
Well, yeah, I certainly knew Lou on numerous hikes, and I always enjoyed him. And two things that stick out in my mind. I used to have a dog that would come with me and hike with me, and he would always say when he would come up to Naya, and he would say, "This is the best dog I have ever run across, known." And she is so well behaved, and she knows what to do. And I said, well, I can't take a lot of credit for that, but anyway, I appreciated him always having such kind words about Naya. The other story, and this is probably something that's somewhat common to the rest of the hiking folks here, is that if you hiked behind Lou, you had to be prepared for some toxic air. It just seemed like he would start farting away, and he would warn us. Well, I just farted. Anyway, it was always fun. It never was that bad.
Nobody died.
Never passed out. But anyway, I just am so pleased that all the MOS are here to join in for this very solemn occasion. That's all I got to say.
All right. Thanks for including me. But I want to tell you a couple stories about Lou. I want to give you a little bit of background. I first got to know Lou about 26 years ago, which was probably half the time that some of you have known him. Yeah. But I took a job with CB Commercial. It's now CBRE. And, of course, Lou was an established broker there. And I should mention that Lou was very diligent in his approach to commercial real estate. He took care of the investment side, so anybody that wanted to buy or sell real estate, commercial real estate, Lou normally got involved. And he had an ability to really focus in, and his attention to detail was exceptional. And oftentimes, Lou would be like top 3 in production for the office. So it just shows you what kind of investment broker he was. I learned a lot from him, and I worked with him on several occasions in that regard. The two stories that I want to share, one was, as Craig mentioned, we did these village-to-village hikes. We planted the seed back in like 2014, 2015, and finally we did a village-to-village hike in the Cotswolds. So we met in London, and then we trained out, and it was a wonderful experience, so wonderful that we repeated that the following year on the Fisherman's Trail in Portugal, and then a couple years later the West Highland Way in Scotland. And I'll share you one story about our beginning that hike in the Cotswolds. We're a little concerned about how we're going to do. This was our first time we were out there, and we started in Chipping Compton and wound up. Spent the day. Actually, we stopped in Broadway for lunch, and it's just a great way to hike. And at the end of the day, we wind up in a pub, and we're pretty pleased with ourselves. And we sit down and with this Englishman, and he immediately corrected us and said, "Well, I'm no Englishman, I'm a Yorkshireman." And we looked at each other. Okay, he's a Yorkshireman. Well, then we went on and talked to him and said, we just completed 11 miles today. It was spectacular. He said, "Well, that's hardly worth putting your boots on." He had done 21 miles on the trail, so he really kind of burst our bubble on that one. But we really enjoyed that so much that the next year we did the part of the Fisherman's Trail. And right before we were in Lisbon, and right before we were going to start going down to the bus station to take I think a 2-hour bus ride down to where the trailhead was for the Fisherman's Trail, they announced that the cab drivers were on strike because they were protesting Uber at the time. And we go, "Oh God, what are we going to do?" So our hotel said, "Well, you have to take the subway," and we figured out how to get to the bus station using the subway. So we get down to the subway in the bowels of the earth, and we're standing for a little bit. We don't know when the next subway is going to come. And Lou asked Louise, I think, "Well, would it be okay if I could sit down?" And so she said, "Yeah, go ahead." And so Lou turned around, and all of a sudden the subway comes. Lou's oblivious, the subway. We get on, the three of us. Off we go. He's sitting down. What happened? So we go, "Oh, we're screwed. We have to catch this bus at 7:30 in the morning. If we don't catch this one, the next one's at 3:30 in the afternoon. So what are we going to do?" Well, fortunately, Lou had the cell phone, not Louise, and we were able to get a hold of Lou. "Lou, just get on the next subway, and it's 7 stops, and get off then, and we'll meet you at the station." Sure enough, it worked. We got on the bus maybe a minute before it left, and they weren't going to wait for him. But thank God we actually did that hike, and it was probably the best hike we've ever done. It's right along the Atlantic Ocean, most of it. And I know that we'll never have that opportunity to have a village-to-village hike like that with Lou, but I'll tell you, every time I go and hike with the MOS, I always will carry that memory with me. And Louise, we hiked with Louise when Lou was not able to hike. We hiked with Louise a couple times on the Wildwood Trail, and we're hoping when the weather improves, we'll get Louise to join us again for another hike, because she was really exceptional. She was there for Lou every step of the way. So kudos to Louise, and God bless Lou.
Lou was a bulldog. Now you're going to say, what the hell? Lou wasn't. He was a bulldog. He was a bulldog from pierogi Arkansas. Oh, Paragould, Arkansas. And he was one of the best bulldogs that ever came out of that place. And he's remembered to this day as the bulldog. In high school, Lou was a big, strong guy. And he played tackle, which is usually saved for the biggest and strongest guys. But whenever they'd need a few yards, they'd say, let's get Lou. So the bulldog would play fullback at that time, and he'd act like a refrigerator, which I'm sure you know, and he would burst through that line and they'd scatter like ants. And he did that numerous times and became a hero in Paragould, Arkansas. Well, he also became a hero in our group. And in our group, he had another secret weapon. But only those who walked behind him knew what that was. And after a while, people stopped walking behind him.
And most people were smart enough. I wasn't.
And the new guys would oftentimes follow behind, but they would soon learn, wouldn't they? But anyway, Lou was, I liked, he had a sense of irreverence. And one time he was, you talked about his being a businessman and a commercial realtor. Well, he was at a big fancy meeting out on the gorge at Skamania Lodge. And it was populated with all these people, many of whom were big businessmen in Portland and Vancouver, and all very prominent people. Well, Lou reached the point where he could no longer contain his secret weapon. He had to do something. And so he thought, oh my God, I can't do that for fools. So he snuck off, and on the side was this big planter with a tree in it. And he walked behind that planter thinking nobody would see him. And he let it go. And as he came back into the room, what happened was that the lady, unbeknownst to him, had been standing on the other side of the planter. And she gave him a look that could kill. Anyway, Lou was a bulldog. He was a friend. He was a parent. He was a businessman. He was kind. And most of all, he was one of us.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lou.
All right. This is my kind of a Lou was a good guy story, but one that I've always remembered. It was about 1974 at the YMCA. I had recently joined, and there's a few of you here that remember going to Chuck Shattuck's class, and then on Wednesdays was the day that we would run up the hill to the Hill Villa. It's now the Chart House restaurant. And for a rookie runner, that was quite a tough run. Wasn't it, Bruce? Yeah. Anyway, the first time I tried it, I got as far as the Shell station, which was about 2 blocks up from the Y, and that was it for me. I had to turn around and go back. So then the next time I tried, and Lou was there, along with a guy that worked with me at the Ben Franklin, Claire Price. Anyway, we were running. The rest of the group, probably Bruce and Don McCoy and the others, were already halfway up to the Hill Villa, but trudging along. But Lou said, no, I'm going to stay with you, and I'm going to get you up there. And so we ran up together, and I don't remember whether I was behind him. I think he was right beside me. But anyway, Lou encouraged me, and he said, come on, Marty, you can get there, you can get there. And I have to say there were several times I thought, I think I better stop and walk, or maybe I better turn around and go back to the Y, but I didn't. Thanks to Lou, with his encouragement, he got me up to the Hill Villa, and I'll never forget that Lou's the guy that got me there for the first time, and I continued running after that and did a lot of running activities over the years, but I never forgot Lou's encouragement and help in getting me up that damn hill.
Yeah, I've had the privilege of knowing Lou for about 40 years in different situations. And my first really encounter with Lou was I was on the commercial lending side and Lou was on the commercial brokerage side. And so when he was in a partnership with Cam Warren and they were acting as a developer, I had an opportunity to kind of really get close to his character and really admire him and all the way he conducted himself. And you never know when you dealing with people that are in that industry. Sometimes ego can be a part of the package, but never did I ever have that kind of encounter with Lou. Lou was so humble and very straightforward, and it was a wonderful to be able to have that experience with him. And then later he was, although he didn't, I wasn't a part of the Dawn Patrol. I was at the Barbara Y, and eventually I guess the Dawn Patrol kind of folded, and I used to see him, and I would work out with him in the mornings there at the Y for a long time. And he's a guy that you spend time with, and he's always complimenting. He's always making you feel good. He just had that aura about him. And then he was the one that introduced me and asked me if I wanted to join MOS, and so that was really special. I had just retired. And so at that point in time, other than what we just kind of shared regarding the odoriferous gases, I found out another curse that Lou had, which was having to take a dump in the middle of a hike.
Hiking through Portland.
And I felt so sorry for him, and I never checked to see in his pockets if he carried toilet paper with him or not. So, but I never saw him or heard him complain that he had poison ivy on the wrong places. But anyway, when he went into the center, I remember saying to him, I said to him, Lou, you're one of the best people I've ever had the opportunity to know. And his response to me was, there are many people that have said that to me, and so that is really a commentary to everybody that really knew him, worked with him, and shared life with him. That's it.
Yeah. Anyone else? Lou and Wes Christensen and John Wolfe put this together, and they were so creative about presenting a program. Some of them are a little off color, but they were all very creative. And I just remember Lou as the guy that always came up with the laughter. So. He was a great guy. I'm going to miss him a lot. Thank you.
I walked into my office in my house yesterday, and I looked on the wall, and I passed the license to become a licensed home inspector in I guess it was in end of January 1999. And on there, I'd forgotten, is a dollar bill that's taped on there with February 15th, 1999 on it. And I remembered that I knew Lou from the Y, and so I talked to him. He was in real estate, and I was going to be a home inspector, and he said, "Hey, I have a question about my crawl space." I said, "Hey, Lou, I'll come. I'm just getting started. I'll come and look in your crawl space." He says, "I'll pay you." I said, "No. What you're going to do is you're going to sign. You're going to take a dollar bill and you're going to sign it and date it, and I'm going to stick it on my license." So I walked in my office yesterday, and I went, "Oh yeah, that's Lou's dollar bill." And I looked at it. Unfortunately, he didn't put his name on it, so it just says February 15th, 1999, which is the day before my birthday. So anyway, I remembered Lou.
All right. I just got one very short comment. I'll always remember Lou as being our umbrella.
Yes.
He kept us dry and he kept us laughing. Anyway, thank you.
Well, you guys probably know Lou and I go way back. And it was actually exactly 52 years this month when we met. And we met at the Oregon Bank. And started sharing a lot of time together. Realized that we got to talking about what we were doing in our pastimes, and he had mentioned he'd started doing a little rock climbing, and I said, "Oh, that's interesting. I spent a lot of time climbing trees professionally when I was younger, and knew how to handle ropes." And he says, "You know, that's a good idea." He says, "Why don't you come rock climbing with me?" So we headed out the gorge one weekend, and we climbed Rooster Rock and the Pillars of Hercules, and enjoyed our time together. And I said, "Man, that's some pretty rotten rock out there." And it was, you know those rocks out there, they're just falling apart all the time. So he said, "Hey, don't worry." He says, "I know a lot of places we can go where there's some good rock." So that started many years of spending time with Lou. He got me introduced to Eldon and Rob sitting over there. And we spent a lot of time on the ropes, climbing through northwest Oregon, Cascades. We spent many weekends at Smith Rock, and then expanded, went into the Tetons with my son one year, and we summited the Grand, and then spent some time in Yosemite, did some of the classic climbs down there, and I'll never forget one climb that really kind of shows you how Lou wants to get something done when we set out. And this was a climb on Royal Arches. And I was leading one of the first few pitches and peeled and ripped my hand open. Now most people would just rappel out from that point and call it quits. But Lou said, "Nah." He said, "Just tape it up. I can lead the rest." And you know what? He did. I followed for the rest of that climb. And we got it done. Yeah, he wanted to get it done. And then, can't remember if it was that year or another, but Eldon and Rob and I did Half Dome with Lou, Snake Dyke, and grand climb, just grand. And we also took our families and went into the Cirque of the Towers. Have you guys ever been there, Cirque of the Towers? It's in the Wind River Range in Wyoming. It has a bunch of classic climbs in there, and I'll never forget the pack-in. It was 8 hours, two 11,000-foot passes, and we finally made camp just at nightfall at 10,500 feet. And we spent the next 10 days in there, and we bagged 3 peaks, one of which his son Lou managed to climb with us to Pingora. We also did Warbonnet and Wolf's Head, classic climbs. It was just a wonderful time. Later on, I guess you guys probably know that he did a commercial for the Oregon Bank. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. The Oregon Bank was featuring a bunch of branch managers in an effort to show how much the bank staff were true Oregonians. And so 3 branch managers were picked. The first one was out in Bend, and he was a horseman. And so it showed him saddling up his horse, getting on the horse, and riding out into the sunset. Well, he didn't cinch up the saddle very well, and the thing went completely sideways. The guy fell off, hurt himself. The next branch manager was a fly fisherman. He gets out into the river, and he's whipping the river, steps in a hole, falls in, his waders fill up, he's washed downstream. People thinking the guy's gonna drown. When he finally saves himself. So the third one, everybody's thinking this is gonna be a disaster. Miller and Lou are gonna climb the overhanging climb on Monkey Face. I don't know if you guys know that. It's an aid climb, it's all overhanging. it looks really spectacular. So they had a lot of camera people there, different angles, up, down, from across the way. And it attracted a whole lot of people from the bank because they just knew somebody was going to die on this one. But it came off without a hitch. And that ad won a lot of awards. Yeah. So I can tell you a lot of stories, one of which kind of fits in with a theme that we've had here with Lou's bowel problems. Rob and Eldon and Lou and I used to, we made it an annual event to do the southeast corner on Beacon Rock. And it was always a great time. We'd have breakfast at that little place across the way and then go over into Washington. And so we started out on this climb as usual. We got about 3/4 of the way up. And Lou says, guys, I gotta take a shit. You guys know, you think going on a hike with him having to go off into the woods and take a shit? No. We're on a ledge that's about this wide. Lou throws a chalk in and secures himself, pulls his pants down, and takes a dump on this ledge while we're all saying, Lou, God damn, why did you have to do this? And he always had a big roll of toilet paper. So he's wiping and wiping and wiping. And come on, let's just get this over with. So he finally pulled his pants up and he kicks everything off the ledge. The turds ended up down by the railroad track, but there's a strong east wind coming down the gorge. And it catches that gob of toilet paper and it unravels. And now, this still haunts me at night. I don't know if does it still haunt you guys? I mean, so it unravels. And now you've got this white and brown toilet paper. It's like a snake, and it's undulating off the edge of Beacon Rock in front of us for like 3 or 4 minutes, and it won't go away. The updraft is keeping it there with this white and brown toilet paper. Oh God! Holy Lord, I tell you. When John was talking earlier about our friend Al, who looked exactly like Bill Clinton, we were doing one of our annual ski trips. 4 or 5 of us got together every year and took a 5 or 6 day ski trip, and we made sure it was always someplace out of state. And I think we were at Taos, New Mexico when this occurred. But when we get off the plane, we always surround Al as if we're, part of the presidential protective guys, and we're pretending like we're talking into our, and we're going like Lou's going like this in front of everybody, just, out of the way, the president's coming, and we're all talking. So he would do that, and then we were sitting outside after skiing in the morning. We were sitting outside for lunch on a deck, sunshine, and of course we go in talking into our microphones, and people are starting to look, and they realize, oh, that's Clinton. So we sit down at the table, and Lou has the gall. He gets up and he walks around to all the other tables. And he says, we got the president here today, and would you guys like to buy him a beer? So he collects money from people that want to buy the president a beer. Oh God! Oh yeah. I brought this. I could spend a half hour up here telling you stories about Lou. What about God? What did I miss here? Jeez, got that in. It's Yosemite. Oh, yeah. one of the great adventures was climbing in the Northwest. This was in August of '93. And Lou Eldon and I went into Forbidden Peak, which is in the North Cascades up near the Canadian border. And we went in there. We were going to do the Fred Beckey route on the West Ridge of Forbidden, which we got up real early in the morning. We made high camp. It was a long hike in. Made high camp, got up real early in the morning to do the climb. And we did it in the Fred Beckey time. We were pretty proud of ourselves. Then coming on a descent, we came across a couple that were off route. They were going up the wrong ridge. They couldn't go up, they couldn't go down. Their rope was snagged. They couldn't go up or down. So we said, oh shit, we got to rescue them. So we did. We got them out of there. It was kind of a dangerous situation because it was real warm in the afternoon and these big slabs of ice and snow were coming down the chutes. And it was pretty touch and go for a while. But we got back to camp. We'd been on our feet for 22 hours. And Eldon said, guys, I think this is my last climb. And Lou and I, of course, told him, nonsense, we got a lot more climbing to do. As it turned out, that was the very last climb that we had gone on. The very last climb for the three of us. Yeah, wow. we never climbed since then.
1993?
Yeah,
93?
August of '93.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now Lou and I, of course, spent a lot of time picking on each other. You guys never saw the worst of it. It was real bad. If you had just a little bit of a wound, it would just add salt to it and pick at each other constantly. And we lived through 3 wives, lots of relationships, and we kind of became self-appointed counselors and psychologists to each other. And we would listen carefully to each of our travails and listen carefully. And we always had a bit of advice for each other. It was always succinct. It was only 2 words. Dumper. I have a lot to thank for Lou. Not only a half a century of good times, he got me introduced to the MOS years ago, which was a real stroke of luck because I've been able to make many friends in addition to Lou as a result of that introduction. And saw him through to the end. Hated to see him go, but he's out of pain, out of misery, and he leaves us with a lot of great stories and memories.
Oh, Danny boy, the pipes are calling. From glen to glen and down the mountain side, the summer's gone and all the roses falling. 'Tis you must go and I must but come ye back when summer's in the meadow, or when the valley's hushed and white with snow. 'Tis I'll be there sunshine or in the shadow. Oh, Danny boy, oh, Danny boy. And when ye come, and all the flowers are dying, and I am dead as dead I well may be, you'll come and find the place where I am lying, and you'll say an Ave there for me, and I shall hear the soft your tread above me, and on my grave will horror sweeter be, and ye shall bend and tell me that you love me, and I shall sleep in peace until you come to.
To our friend Lou.
Hey, Lou.
Happy trails.
Happy trails.